Okay, so I don't think coincidences are real. I think when you resonate on a certain frequency and take that how in whatever way you will, you're more prone to noticing and finding things of a similar nature. I mean, in my life, I don't think it's a coincidence that the fact that, you know, an interest I have, which would be the process church of the final judgment, just pops up in every little path I go down, they eventually pop up along the way somewhere. And it's like, that's not, and, it's just the fact that when you're interested in stuff, it just intertwines with a lot of things and you start noticing it more. You just notice it. It's not I'd say it's less a coincidence. It's more just you're noticing things. I think coincidence is a lot of confusion with correlation and causation, which, you don't, there may be a correlation, but most of the time you don't know. And there's a podcast with Stanton LaVey, and he touches on this, and I do agree with him, but I also don't, because I don't really know. I don't know. And it's like, people see things on their algorithms that, they're like, I'm just talking about that. Like, that's not a coincidence. You've probably, in a similar manner, you've probably searched for shit. So your algorithm feeds you what it thinks you want to see, and also for the fact that your device is probably listening to you. And it's not a coincidence either. It's it's targeted consumerism. And in a sense, I think that that might be why I don't like subcultural camps or anything. I smell, imagine communities created by corporations and government agencies to keep people consuming, which, Pill Eater pointed out in his What is Subculture article, and then I also did in mine called The Outer Outliers, about how the typically rebellious and strange subcultures, so quote unquote, create their own uniform nonconformity. They, give people aesthetics and a prepackaged narrative and echo chamber, and boom, you have market for money. It's and and then Pill Eater says in this book, then on to counterculture. Counterculture relies on ideology as its main motive, and the ideologies of counterculture are vast and ever fluid. It's not an open market. It's artistically bent in a way, not always clear, but there's something artistic in getting, say, a bomb into the Pentagon. And, on another hand, similar could be said of the Holocaust being Hitler's final painting, literally the land with blood, piss, shit, and teeth, vomit, and bodily fluids of every kind excreted upon violent death. It's a unique piece, but it's undoubtedly one of the most known, and he's immortalized to the same level Jesus is. I mean, the two most famous people in history are Jesus and Hitler. You can't argue with me on that. David Bowie called Hitler the first rock star, and Marilyn Manson hypothesized the same about Jesus. And why can't it just be both? I mean, in a sense, a rock star kind of has to embody both of it. I mean, I don't think it's mutually exclusive. Just take Marilyn Manson for example, because I already said him, and I like Marilyn Manson. Boyd Rice called his performances a cross between glam rock and a Nuremberg rally. So, and not to mention that, not to mention all that, rock and stuff takes from like religious and fascist derived aesthetics and symbolism that these bands and artists utilize. Bowie, for instance, used a lightning bolt, certainly taken from the British Union of Fascists, and then, he also had an obsession with Aleister Crowley, just as a side note. And then, Anton LaVey believed classical music was the truly satanic music, and he isn't wrong, but I think industrial might go beyond where classical can't, because classical, while great, is limited by the instruments and restraints it has with those instruments. Industrial has, and I know they use cannons and stuff in certain stuff. It's not mutually exclusive to purely instruments. I'm not stupid. I just, typically classical music, while great, does not include all this extra stuff for warping your minds. And, I think industrial is the more satanic because it just goes beyond the supernormalifications that occur for classical. It has more, like, just there's more to it. Like Bowie, Throbbing Gristle incorporated the British Union of Fascists inspired bolt, and then, Genesis Peorage would later take the symbol off of Zyklon Beacon for the Temple of Psychic Youth. So, like, again, there you go. It's just more to show. But I feel what they did was, along with like non-solidify industrial and noise, is kind of a new classical in a sense. I don't know how else to put it. And it's like the British Union of Fascists is just an undervalued segment of history. Their influence just reverberates in ways most would not know about. Most would probably be intrigued to hear where Bowie derived his lightning bolt from. I certainly was, whenever I saw Marilyn Manson with it in his own incorporation and added, occult significance to it, because what he used on Antichrist Superstar and with the banner and stuff is mainly derived from a book called the Tetragrammaton, a book for stuff, and I certainly liked it enough. I have it right here, and then Green Day also uses the lightning bolt for their iconography and Warning, their album Warning. And, I like symbols which can be multifaceted, and with different meanings depending on the context, and and again, Green Day definitely took influence for American Idiot from Marilyn Manson with his performances of Antichrist Superstar, with the banners, the suit, and red tie, that's all that stuff. And like Hitler, most rock stars are experts at crowd control. Freddie Mercury was his just heyo. And Billie Joe Armstrong kind of took, I think Billie Joe Armstrong from Green Day might actually be the best at crowd control. I don't see anyone that can get an entire stadium to turn their phones off for 2 minutes. I've never seen that. And if you can get an entire stadium people to turn their phones off for just 2 minutes, I think you're more powerful than the government. Just saying. In a sense. And, you know, it's just like... And I don't say there's no coincidence in the sense that I'm saying it's determinism, because I think determinism is kind of stupid. It's just, I think it's a lot of confusing correlation, unknown correlations and unknown causations to try and make it make sense, because I don't know. I'm rambling. And I'm rambling and kind of loosely basing it off of things I wrote in here. But in a sense, the only determinism that I'm thinking is instinct, because everything stems from it. Like, every choice someone makes can be traced back to instinct. So in a sense, there is a correlation, there is a causation. But at the same time, there are more than just instinct and choice, because your instinct and choice is also subject to the instinct and choices of people around you, because, hate it or love it, we live in a society. But yeah, I guess I'll do that later. Anyway, that was my rant here, or ramble. I could rant, but I'm not going to.